Well, hello everybody. How are y'all doing today? This morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it may be for you all. Let's see here. We got Doll, we got 715, we got Banana Cat. Thank you all so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. Let's see here. Going to attempt to have a chat window up. I don't know if it's actually going to work or not, but we'll find out. It's weird. I've got this over here, but I've got Trusty Laptop over here. But Trusty Laptop is actually watching the stream so that I can check in on things. Oof. Horror Phoenix Neelican, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. Quick sound check, by the way. How does the mic to the music sound? How's that balance sounding? I may or may not leave that music on for this video. We'll find out. Don't hear any music. Okay, that's a start. And a Sorcery. Welcome, Sorcery. Thank you so much for stopping by. The music is very subtle. Perfect. Was an attempt to effectively take just a little bit of background noise just to to fill a tiny void. Am I going crazy or did I cut my hair? Nope, I cut my hair. It is unfortunately I have this thing, so it's where this part of my hair just does not want to cooperate, so I kind of get this little like swoop thing. So actually I really need to cut that apparently. But yeah, I did in fact cut my hair. It was I basically buzzed my hair. Let's not call it cutting. Let's call it what it is. It's buzzing. Oh man. Let's see here. I am planning to start today's stream by going over a couple of things. I've gotten a question about the setup that I'm using for version control. So how I do my Git actions. Because I'm not technically interacting with the Git CLI. I'm using a Vim plugin called Fugitive. So I just wanted to kind of draw a comparison there because not everybody is familiar with the wonderful world that is Git and Git plugins. So I'll go over that real quick and then we'll get into the regular stream. However, as has become tradition, we must of course start the stream with a delicious cup of organic Japanese matcha brought to you by Jade Leaf because Jade Leaf is fantastic. Oh, let's see here. Anybody getting up to anything fun for the weekend? Which I am, oh man. It is totally not an ad, 715. It is just personal. Yeah, it's an ad. It's it's definitely an ad. Minor details. Mitch want to get sponsored one day, someday. I want to try some. Well, 715, you yourself could enjoy a cup of organic Japanese matcha brought to you by Jade Leaf by simply going to Amazon.com and searching for Jade Leaf Matcha. And no, I do not have an affiliate link because, to be perfectly honest, I couldn't be arsed to set one up. And that is not why we are here. We are not here to make money off of people. We are here to have fun, to code things, and to watch things explode. Oops. And of course... Ah, skillfully managed to avoid ankle stream. There we go. All right. Put the kettle back on, and let's see here. Had an interesting day today. Unfortunately, as you all know, that English is technically my native language. However, I speak English at about the competency of a 7-year-old. So if you are here for eloquent definitions of code and the various processes that follow, I am sorry, you are in fact in the wrong place. Oh, and I spilled some tea. Oh, that is heresy. That is pure heresy. All right, let's put that back on there. I was also asked at some point what tools I am using. This is a bamboo whisk, and this is also just a bamboo scoop. The whisk, the scoop, and in fact the cup was all part of a set also bought off of Amazon. Because let's be real, at this point I have basically accepted my life as a prime citizen, living in my prime home with my prime everything, except for the desk, brought to you by Uplift. I've basically just gone into full ad stream at this point. Oh yeah, proper matcha. All right, let's get the camera off of keyboard view, which is absolutely what I'm going to call it. Oh, let's put that over there. Alrighty. But yes, it has been a thing. Do I know about Cottonmouth Kings? I do not know. I don't think I've ever heard of them. What genre are we talking? Let's see here. Yes, so today was a bit of an interesting day. This was my last day at my current company, but it was leaving on good terms, not leaving because the company was terrible or anything of that nature. In fact, it is a fantastic company. For various reasons, I will not name them, but finished my last day today, and it was one of those days where it's like it finally settles in that this is that's it. That's the end of this journey. Oof. It really sunk in a little bit. So PS2 intro for Supercross game. Ooh. Nice. Also, horror, I have no idea why it's censoring your sigh. Like, that is actually kind of concerning. Let's see here. I'm kind of curious. Let's hear. Sigh. I got nothing, mate. Oh, everybody attempting to break the chat. I approve. Okay. I do have the music playing in my headphones. I will attempt, let's turn that to, say, 26. Just double checking again for the music. Music is not too loud, I hope. We'll move that over here. 715 attempting to abuse the Twitch chat. I approve. Not entirely sure how Twitch would feel about that, but details. Oh, it did actually. Oh, okay. So I actually have over here. Oh, I see why. Okay, I think this is the chat widget. So over on my screen, I have a chat like a chat window, if you will, and same thing for chat window over here. But the chat widget on Streamlabs probably is doing some HTML escaping, so you all can't destroy the element. Because as far as I'm aware, that chat widget is just HTML on some web page. Which is something that I was interested in exploring at some point. Because if I understood this correctly, most of these widgets and most of the kind of the more fancy bot features are more or less just web pages. They're kind of web pages that are optimized to be widgets, but they're just web pages. So in theory, we could make a web page, host that somewhere, and then include that as a stream element. Something to look into. All right, let's get. Gonna bring the stream up. Have a brief moment where you all can indeed see that. For some reason, my usual setup for setting up stream did not actually position everything. So I've kind of had to, I've had to manually position the iTerm window and do all those things. All of my usual automations just exploded on me, and it made me very sad. Let's see. Oh yes, I need Docker. I need to start ye olde Docker, because that was another thing that came up, was Docker. It is indeed just a web page doll, which makes me insanely cautious about the types of things that it will allow. Although I am fairly certain that if it's OBS based, OBS does some semblance of script escaping when it does rendering, I think. Either that or it just embeds everything in an iframe and says, this is kind of your slice of the world. You can't see everything else. All right. So first things first, let's talk Git. So when it comes to software development, I have never personally worked on a project in my professional career that didn't involve version control. Luckily for me, most of those projects were Git based. So Git is a tool. It is a very old tool at this point, if I remember correctly, that is more or less a tool for managing changes to code. So if you've ever seen me, especially up here when I've been changing code, I've been doing a couple of commands like git status, git add, and then git commit, and all these other bits. If I'm on the terminal, that's me using Git. And what I'm doing is I'm creating points in time for changes. So if I were to say go into main.go, and let's say that I changed this, why not? Let's say that one day Twitch changes from the command from pass to password. And so if I do a git status now, Git is telling me that I have a modification in that file. And I can do a git diff to see what that modification is, which is super handy. If I wanted to actually commit those changes, i.e. this is a change that I want to keep around, then I can say git add, and I can either do the file or you can be lazy and do dot. I would normally recommend doing the specific file so that you know exactly what you are committing. And then I would do a git commit, and depending on how, I would either do just git commit and type my message into chat, which would be, say, password now sent as password, or something of that nature. That's the bare bone minimum. There are a ton of other things that I would normally be doing. So if this was a project for work, so let's first reset, git checkout. So this has effectively gotten rid of those changes. And so now if I go back into my main.go, you can see that it's back to pass. So this is another thing that's super handy. If you are working on code and you're making commits along the way, and then you start to change things and things start to break, and you go, ah, crap, I've fallen too far down this rabbit hole. Everything is literally on fire. What do I do? Oh, git checkout. You can check out earlier revisions of your code. So for example, if I do a git log -n4, each of these lines is a commit that I have made at some point in the past. So if I wanted to go back to, say, this code, I could git checkout that. And now if I go into main.go, I'm in the older version of the code. I'm at that specific point in the code, and maybe I decide, well, from this point forward, everything else was terrible, it was a terrible idea, and I just want to get rid of it all, I can git reset hard, and I can basically bring my changes solely to here, and then I can get rid of any of the other changes that I've made. Now, obviously, I'm grossly oversimplifying, because there is quite a lot that Git does. But at a bare minimum, for those of you who were asking me, like, what is this Git thing that you keep talking about, and what are these things that you keep doing? That's the long and short of it. It's basically managing changes throughout my code base. So for me, though, I don't usually interact with the CLI unless I'm doing like a diff, or if I'm not in Vim. In Vim, I have a couple of tools that are available at my disposal. So I can bring up a quick menu here to show me, okay, do I have any changes? No. What if I change this to fatal? And now if I bring up G, well, now I've got stage changes, and I can see the changes right on screen, which is super handy. And then I've also got gadd and in here, I can just stage changes. So when you do a git add, your staging changes is what it's called. And then I can do a gcommit, and that's the exact same as if I did a git commit on the CLI. So I'm effectively doing, we'll call it more or less the same thing that I do if I was here on the CLI, but I have a plugin to do it for me so that I rarely have to pop out of Vim. So, any questions or curiosities on the wonders of Git or how I use it? Anything of that nature? Oh, matcha tea. How wonderful thou art. All right. I will attempt to monitor chat. Aha. Quick history lesson. The first real version control was Revision Control System, RCS, as a GNU project around 1980. Damn. Let's see here. It developed in Subversion later, which was more or less the blueprint for Git. That is really cool, doll. I actually didn't know that. Huh. Which, if I remember correctly, Git also was a Torvalds project. The anybody who's not familiar, the original kind of author of the first Linux kernel, Linux, if you will, the father of Linux. Yeah. Damn. And look at what it's become now. That's really cool. I love that kind of stuff. Like, let me see. Do I still? Yeah, I do. Ah, hold on. Who here has ever seen Byte magazine? The wonderful... Just to kind of give you a little excerpt of what Byte magazine was all about. Byte magazine, I actually have a couple of these. Unfortunately, I used to have a huge stack of them. This one is the April 1978 issue. These are very old magazines that were just full of ads for computer parts. Sometimes there's random excerpts of code in here. I wonder if this one had one. They had reviews on PC books for digital circuitry, for systems design and engineering, those kinds of things. Oh, well, not really. That's not really a code snippet, but yeah, it's basically just an old set of magazines that I've kind of been holding on to. I got them from a couple of places, and I've just kind of been holding on to them as a little piece of computing history. Also to remember that everything that we do, literally everything that we do, including this IRC bot for Twitch, it all starts from very basic beginnings. And I mean, this is like 1978. This is nowhere near what is attributed as the beginning of computing. So, yeah. I only know about this history because of a really annoying person. I mean, it feels like in some cases that is kind of the typical source. Let me put that back. Yeah, I used to have a collection of those. There were something like 60 magazines in the collection, I think, somewhere around that up. But unfortunately, had a very unfortunate spill accident that got a very large number of them basically soaked, and they were more or less destroyed. The 1, 2, 3, yep, the 4 copies that I have left were the only ones that survived. Made me really sad. All right. So, the other question that I had was around Docker. Now, we had I think it was the stream before last, where we were talking about the deployment of this application. And most software has some kind of a deployment cycle, right? I mean, we have to take this code off of our local machines and put it somewhere that is accessible to the rest of the world. And this comes in many different forms. It can either be static files as a website. It can be code that's run on a virtual machine or a physical server, like we did in the last one. It could be an Android SDK, an Android APK, or it could be an iOS app that's deployed somewhere and then downloaded onto the mobile phone. Either way, there's this step to turn code into something that is executable, and then there's the step to take that executable and yeet it somewhere so that other people can actually use this code. So what we did last time was a very manual process, and what I'd like to do, probably not this stream, but eventually, say next couple of streams, is I'd like to go through some of the more DevOps practices. So things like a CI server, these servers that are kind of set up to watch changes to code repositories, and as soon as it sees a change, it downloads that code, it builds that code, and then it deploys that code in some capacity. This is where my developer brain just goes absolutely bonkers because I am a huge automation nut. I mean, clearly, I have a button on a Stream Deck whose sole responsibility is to automate the start of all of this. I can't be arsed to go and click through and, all right, start music, bring up Firefox, bring up Streamlabs, bring up iTerm. I ain't got time for that. Give me a button, damn it. So, in regards to automation, there is an element of software, specifically the development lifecycle, that I am not a fan of, and that is installing things onto my machine so that I can actually do things. Take, for example, Node projects, front-end web applications, anything that ever uses something like React or Angular, etc. You have to have NPM installed. Okay, that's fine. If I'm actually doing front-end development, sure. But what if I'm not doing front-end development? What if this part of the application is a web application and then I'm working on the back-end application? I don't give a rat's ass how that application is built. I just care that it gets built and that it can connect to my application. Yes, I know. I know. I'm hearing it in the comments section, mostly of people from work. You entitled back-end developer. You rigid bastard. Yes. What I would really like, And something that's really kind of gravitated me towards Docker is an automated way through ideally a single tool that allows me to spin up applications and run them. Like, I don't necessarily care how, I just care that they are run. That's what Docker gives me. So I'd like to go through, we're going to take this application, and previously what we did was we took this app, and just for, let's source our access token, and let's run make. Before, we have this make file, which is kind of like baby automation. It automates the creation of this binary, and then with this binary, we can run this binary to do things, right? So if we do bin mejbot, except that we can't run bin mejbot because it is formatted to Linux. So let's actually make let's make another make file. Let's make another make target. Say build Mac. Let's see here. Go OS equals Darwin. GoArch equals AMD 64. And we're going to call this app Mac. Make build Mac. There we go. And so if we do mejbot Mac, now we have the application that is executable on a Mac, right? And so that was a pretty simple process, relatively speaking. Makefile is pretty standard. Most operating systems have make. Windows, just saying. Although make is not really heavily used these days, and I don't necessarily blame people for that. But I really like make. It's small, it's fast, and it's relatively easy once you get used to it. So, but this is okay for me because I've been working with the Go application. I am, for all intents and purposes, a back-end Go developer. So, but what if somebody on the front end, so somebody say that maybe building a web UI for this application comes in, do I want to ensure that they have make and they can change into this directory and they can run the correct target and then start that application and then go over to their front end code and blah, blah, blah? What if I gave them a command? What if I gave them Docker? So let's start with a Docker file. So a Docker file is more or less just a file format, and that file format is what is the phrase? It is a description of a Docker container, which is more or less you can think of it as like a description of something that is going to be executed on a container runtime. Very similar to virtual machines, except that typically you do not have full operating system installations on Docker files. More likely, you're running, if you've ever gone to, let's see here, if anybody's ever installed Ubuntu, right? Who here is a fan of Ubuntu? Or probably a better question, who here has never heard of Ubuntu? Oh, Ubuntu, you fantastic Linux distribution. When you go to Ubuntu and you're trying to download the ISO because you're going to install it on your machine, you are presented with options. You have Ubuntu Desktop and you have Ubuntu Server. I use Arc. Hey, I used to use Manjaro and then I turned over to Mac. I know. My old 2001 laptop has Ubuntu in it. Fantastic. And Ubuntu on my laptop? Yay. All right, we got some Ubuntu love in here. I started on Ubuntu. That was like my introduction to Linux. Work pushed me over into CentOS, I think it was. Let's see here. And then I went from Ubuntu to CentOS to Fedora, back to Ubuntu, And then eventually I just kind of kept scrolling until I ended up on Amazon's Linux, and then eventually Docker bringing me into Alpine. First time touching Ubuntu at a company, I installed a GUI on it. You know what, though? That's fair. All things considered, that's fair. So on a desktop, on a desktop or a laptop or etc., you would probably be downloading the Ubuntu desktop. So it's a Linux kernel. It has a window manager. It's an operating system that looks and feels like what most people associate an operating system to be. However, there's another option. There's Ubuntu Server. And Server is more or less the Linux kernel with all the visual bits stripped out. The only thing that you really see when you boot up a server instance of Ubuntu is a terminal. And the reason for that is that server variants are meant to run software in a kind of a headless environment. It's not meant to be used for a user going in, clicking around, opening browsers, opening web applications, all that fun. It's meant to run applications, not unlike the one that we are going to do. But Ubuntu is okay. It's definitely, it works. And actually, there's a website for what we call base Docker files or base images, which is kind of a starting point, very similar to installing an ISO onto a machine. A base image is very similar. So there is actually an official Ubuntu image that we can use in Docker if we wanted to. And it's relatively okay. I'm kind of curious. I actually haven't pulled Ubuntu in a hot minute. Let's do a Docker image prune real quick just to make sure. Docker images. So we got Node. Hey, fun fact, I have Node. Haha. Let's do a Docker pull Ubuntu. And let's see what kind of Docker image we're looking at. That's not bad. Okay. That is a lot smaller than I was anticipating. So you can think of a base image as kind of like a starting point. It's a foundation for you to add dependencies, add your software, basically create this nice little box that's going to contain your code so that you can then take that image and ship it somewhere. It's very similar to what we were doing, where we were taking these executables and we were shipping the executables over to a virtual machine, in our case on AWS. But it has a benefit. We don't have to install anything on that virtual machine, except for Docker. But most of the time, we don't really use virtual machines. We use something like a Docker orchestrator, something like Kubernetes, ECS, Google Container Engine, something of that nature. Something that is effectively a managed system that says, give me your Docker image and I will deploy it for you. Which makes me very happy, because I like the idea of I build the thing and then you figure out how to run it. Even though, admittedly, I am still very curious about the hardware side of things, I'm not quite curious enough to really understand the full details of things like hypervisors and the virtualization layer and all of that fun. At least not yet. So you were telling me there's a way to just pack all the dependencies in one place and call it a day? Pretty much. That is exactly what the purpose of Docker is. Which Docker is not the first tool to do this. This idea has been around for, I think, a very long time. In my opinion, Docker just made it really easy. Like, the tooling around Docker is fantastic. So let's do something. I want to take this application and I want to build it. And I want to create this thing that I can build anywhere as long as Docker is available. So let's go to Golang. So Golang has an official image, right? And the reason that I need a Golang specific image, I'm going to build the code inside of Docker. I'm going to run that go build command. So let's see here. Up here we have we have the image name, which in this case is Golang. And if we don't specify a tag, which is a suffix that we can add to the image name, it'll basically give us the latest version. In my case, I'm going to probably go for Buster, because Buster is usually very slow, very small. Slow and Go are rarely put together, unless you write for loops and for loops and for loops, in which case then yeah, maybe. Actually, no, I'm going to use the Alpine image because I love Alpine. Actually, no, I'm going to use Buster. All right, so let's get back into our Docker file. So to start the Docker file, we need to tell Docker what our base image is going to be. So in this case, it's going to be from Golang Buster. Okay, so from Golang Buster, what does that do? Well, if I do a Docker build, and when I build Docker images, usually it would give you kind of like a weird hash ID that looks something like this, but I don't really want to have to remember that. I kind of just want to have a more friendly name. So I can tag this image, which is the -t, and I'm going to tag this. I told you, chat, I can't speak English to save my life. I'm going to Docker build -t mejbot. And so what Docker build does is it starts in the directory that you're in and it looks for a Docker file. And if one exists, it's going to start parsing and building your Docker image. So as you can see here, just from that one line from Golang Buster, it goes out, it finds that Golang Buster image, if available, and it downloads it for us automatically. So if I do a Docker images, which shows me which images are available on my system, I can now see it's a very big image, but I now have this Golang Buster image. And it also tells me that it's 839 megabytes. Oof. You'll notice a pattern, by the way, as I go through some of these. I am very sensitive to the size of Docker images because the larger the image, the longer that it takes to upload and to download. And I don't like that. There are tools that are available to make that really fast and really small, and we're going to exploit them. But just from this alone, okay, I now have Golang Buster. Well, what can I do with that? Well, let's start with a Docker exec. -it, let's see here. And we want to do mejbot bin bash. Oh, no such container mejbot. Oh, right, because I only did a Docker build. I didn't actually do a Docker up. Oh, no, I did tag it as mejbot latest. Oh, maybe it's just a Docker run. Run. /rm -it mejbot bin sh. There it is. Okay. So, I'm currently in a terminal. Why am I in a terminal? I'm also in a terminal that is suddenly in a directory called Go. Okay. Well, oh, I have the Go command available to me. Okay. Well, let's see here. What version of Go am I on? I'm on Go version 1.15.2. So what that one line has basically done is it has downloaded a Linux installation that has Go already available on it, and using that Docker build, I have created a box, if you will, that contains all of those things in it. And so if I do a Docker run on that instance, /it means interactive. Sorry, can't think of one. How you doing, man? Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. We talking Docker. So I can use the, let me bring that back up on screen. Let's exit out of there. Clear. Docker run, --rm, which basically means remove the container when I'm done with it. -it, which means run an interactive shell. Mejbot, which is the name that I assigned to that Docker container. And then bin bash. So basically start a bash shell inside of this container. And now I'm in a container that has access to the Go tooling. Sweet. Now I could do all kinds of things with this. There have been times where I have actually used Docker containers in this kind of interactive shell format to do my development. I have done development inside of Docker containers. It's few and far between, just saying. There are some oddities with doing development inside of Docker containers. But if I actually have the ability to get Docker installed, I have a plethora of software that is now available to me. What about Postgres? Postgres database? Docker run, --rm, -it, Postgres, bin bash. Oh, there's an image for Postgres. Hello, I would like to run a database on my local system. I really don't want to have to install Postgres and then remember what credentials I started for Postgres and then stop it and start it and stop it and start it and stop it and start it. No. Now I have a Docker image, and that Docker image has Postgres on it. We'll come back to that. Let's see here. Let's go back to my Docker images. So, okay, well, now I have this Docker file, and I have this from Golang Buster, but what the hell is I going to do with it? Well, I mentioned that I was going to do the Go build inside of this container. So in order to do that, I need to get code files into this container. And to do that, go.mod, go.sum, and I'm gonna say, I usually have a build directory, something like user source app. So work directory is user source app. This is just a folder structure on the file system of this Linux container. And then what I'm doing is I am copying files from my local directory. So this is this go.mod and go.sum. Those are files on my local machine. And I'm copying them into the container in the directory user source app. So if I bring up a terminal, docker build, mejbot, do the things, docker run, mejbot, I'm in user source app, and there's my go.mod and my go.sum. Hey, that's handy. What can I do with that? Well, I need to do more things. I need dependencies. Now, if I remember correctly, it's magic. Exactly. Golang, Docker, what is it? Go mod download dependencies. Which I cannot remember the command. Go mod download. That's handy. Yeah, this is more or less what I was looking for. So once I have these files inside of the Docker container, I can run shell commands. So in this case, I want to run go mod download. In theory, go mod download is going to download these dependencies and make them available when I run this code. So if I do a Docker build again, and then if I do a Docker run, but I don't think it did the thing. No, it didn't do the thing. Why didn't it do the thing? Okay, let's cat go.mod, make sure that's actually a thing. Yes, okay. Let's see here. Go home, or is it go root? Go home root is a directory, so let's ls bin. Did it actually do the thing? No, it didn't do the thing. That's okay. Package? No. Source? No. Well, that's a shame. Or does it go home? No. Okay. So I might have to debug that. Let's see. So let's exit out of that. I need my code in here. Yeah, I need my code in here. Copy main.go, user source app main.go, copy. Let's see here. We want IRC and bot also in user source app. So some people, you do not have to copy files in like this. You don't have to copy them one file at a time. There are better ways to do that. This is just kind of a first cut, if you will. And if I do go, let's see here. Let's say env GoOS. So remember GoOS was an environment variable that we could set that altered the way that we executed these things. Blob dance. Sorcery just having a blob dance off on the side. Our wonderful mod. So if we do GoOS equals Linux, we effectively tell the Go compiler, hey, BT dubs. My one and only contribution lies. You grace us with your presence and you are a fantastic participant and we appreciate you. Just saying. That tells the Go build tool, hey, we're going to be building on a Linux system. Just so you know, you don't have to derive that. This is a Linux system. And then I can run go build -o, and we'll call this -o app. Because why not? Run cgo enabled equals 0, GoOS equals Linux, go build -a. You're missing some flags there. No, we will actually get to that because the optimization of Docker containers is a very fun topic, says the nerd. I am happy being in this stream. Good, man. We're happy to have you. Let's see here. Oh, wait, I need this to be starting at main.go. Works on my machine. All right, so in theory, this will do a thing, right? Docker build. Oh, nope. Package Medjbot IRC is not in Go root. Now, why is that? Or in fact, maybe we don't even need the Go mod download at all. Maybe we just need that. Let's see. Work to your user source app, Go mod, main.go, IRC, bot, user source. Oops, I need user source app. Term, Docker build. When using copy with more than one source file, its destination must be a directory that ending with that. And me sitting here thinking that I'm being fancy. Let's make it let's do it like this. Copy, bot, user, source. Oh, that's what I was doing. Okay, I was doing, sorry. I was doing something stupid. Me doing something stupid? No. It's not that we were doing something stupid, it's that we were doing something that was not intended for use. There we go. But Medj, okay, user local go source Medjbot IRC is not in Go root. It seems that it's not appreciating our modules. So let's see. Let's take a look. Go to go.mod, module Medjbot. This probably at this point needs to be Go 1.15. Yeah, let's see. Let's try one more Docker build. Run go build -o main.go. seems to be doing something. He was trying to do something. All right. So let's cancel out of that, and let's come back to our Docker file. We don't want that. Among Us is super fun. Hey, first time playing, and I already hate all my friends. Right. Nilo, Among Us is one of those games that is really going to test the boundaries of friendships, test the patience of friendships, and also test how far you can yeet somebody out of a window for being that one imposter. Am I just missing the... Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, let's see what we got. Oh, that's absolutely not what we wanted. No wonder. All right, so it appears that the source of our issues is that we are currently copying all Go files into the same directory, which is not how the code is expecting those files to be. And I think that is because of that. So let's see. Let's go back to our terminal. Let's do a Docker build. Up. When using copy with more than one source file, but you're being silly. Docker run. Oh, did I not save it? No, I definitely didn't. I definitely did. Man, Docker making me look like a fool. I'm sitting here singing Docker's praises, being like, yo, dog, you are not gonna believe how good Docker is. Nah, really, it's just because I have to Google this stuff all the time. I genuinely have to Google this a good bit because, again, it's a lot. It's a lot. All right, so we're just going to do user source app IRC and copy, which, by the way, there is a much shorter, quicker way to do things. I'm just choosing not to because I'm a silly. User source app bot. And yep, so we want that. Bring up our terminal again. Docker build. Docker run. There we go. See, we just had to finagle with it a little bit. All right, let's get our go build command back in here. Go to term. Docker build. Now I'm using the core Docker CLI at the moment. It's pretty good, but we could do better. Docker run. Oh boy. --rm. Let's see here. Okay. So now we have a binary. So if I do app, it doesn't have the secret that we need, but the app is now running again. And it's running inside of this box that we now have. Okay. But this is me having to jump into the container. And this is me having to basically do exactly what I'm doing on my local machine, except that now I've just added a bunch of steps in front of it. Well, that's not very handy. And no, it is not very handy. That's why Docker supports the ability to run commands when you start the application. User, so we want the command to be user source app, which is a terrible name, by the way. We should absolutely call this something else like Mejbot. Change word, Mejbot. Okay, so let's bring my terminal up again. Docker build -t Mejbot. So as you can see, that build command that we've been running manually up to this point, now every time that we run a Docker build is basically doing the task of grabbing those dependencies, bringing them locally, building the code, producing that same application that we had before. And now if we do a Docker run --rm Mejbot, there's the application. Right? So now we have another way to run this application. Okay. But what we also have is all of our dependencies, everything that is necessary to run the application contained inside of this here Docker image, this here Medjbot Docker image. So what we can do is we can take that image and we can ship the image somewhere, and we can download and run that image on all kinds of hardware. We can distribute this to other developers. Although we don't usually distribute the image itself, we actually distribute the code and a command to run. But you could, if you were, say, separate teams inside of an organization, let's say, and that team depended on your code, and they wanted to do some local testing, but they didn't necessarily want to hit the real application. They want to hit a local isolated copy. Okay, well, here's a Docker image. If we were to upload this to a Docker registry somewhere, and then they could do a Docker pull Medjbot. And then additionally, they could do a Docker run --rm Medjbot. They have no concept of what's inside of this box. They don't need to know that in order to run this code, they have to download Golang, download the Go tooling, CD into this code directory, run Go build. Oh, by the way, Go build has this environment variable that we have to set. All right, set the environment variable, blah, blah, blah. They don't have to know any of that. All they have to do is Docker pull, Docker run, and voila, you have a distributable Medjbot. Something like that. So there's a couple of benefits to this. Something that tools like Kubernetes exploit. Take advantage of? You be the judge. For example, we take this Docker image and we deploy it to Kubernetes, which unfortunately I don't have prepared for today, but that might be something that I can jimmy together for a future stream. We can take this Docker image and we can deploy it to a Docker registry, and then we can say, hey, Kubernetes, I want you to download this code and I want you to deploy it onto your Kubernetes cluster. Kubernetes says, all right, as long as it's available. It downloads the image, it creates a pod, it deploys that pod based on some spec that we give it. We say, hey, I want one copy of this and I want it to be running here and I want it to be exposed via this port and blah, 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 blah. And Kubernetes can go, all right. And then it will keep that application running. If Medjbot crashed for some reason, maybe it hit some error that it didn't know what to do with and it panicked, and the Docker and the Go application crashed, and therefore the Docker application crashes, Kubernetes is going to go, all right, and it's going to restart that application automatically, unless we futz with it, I think. But it can just restart the application. It'll recognize that the application is down. It'll restart it for us. Anybody ever been on a support call? Anybody ever done production support? I'm pretty sure we have a couple of viewers that have prod support experience. You ever been on a production support call where all it took to fix was restarting the application? Like, the application just crashed for whatever reason, and the fix was just restart the application? If your app's in a Docker container and that Docker container is deployed on Kubernetes, get rid of those phone calls at 2 a.m. in the morning. Woof. As long as Kubernetes is running, which I've seen some damn good tooling around managed Kubernetes clusters that ensure that that thing stays running. It's fantastic. It just restarts. If an application hits a memory leak, this is not an excuse to write memory leak ridden code, but application hits a memory leak, fails on a out of memory exception. All right, pod dies, new pod starts up. There's a blip in availability, mind you, so it's not great. We need to kind of do things to help that, but it just starts another instance of the application. It's fantastic. I would really like to get into Kubernetes at some point, because Kubernetes is another one of those tools that I think a lot of people have at least heard the term Docker and heard the term Kubernetes, possibly without context. They're just fantastic tools. And as a developer, I am super psyched about these things, because even though those normally fall into the DevOps side of things, as a developer, I'm super invested in understanding these tools and understanding how to use these tools, because Kubernetes and Docker literally means the avoidance of me waking up at 2 a.m. in the morning from a prod support call just to restart a bloody app. That's fantastic. Just saying. I'm super keen, so let me know when you want to play. Yes, please. We need to do that. Nilo, we need to do this. Just saying. And of course, sorry, can't think of one again. One of my IRL mates is laughing at me because I just sit here and just chat about Docker all the bloody time. People legitimately think that I am a DevOps engineer, and I'm not. I'm just a developer who paid attention to DevOps. I got super curious about DevOps, and I was like, what are these automation things that you are talking about? And what do they do for me? They prevent me from being up late on prod support calls. Invested. Invest, buy now. Obviously, I just kind of whirlwinded a bunch of stuff about Docker and Kubernetes and all those other things, but I want to kind of pause and take a pulse on things. Any questions, comments, concerns, curiosities, or anything otherwise? Otherwise, I will stop talking about deployment tech and get back into the code. But again, this is exposure to more things about the software development lifecycle. Have you ever cussed on stream? Absolutely, all the damn time. I think I flagged this stream as not appropriate for children. I'm fairly confident I flagged the stream as not appropriate for children, because I do cuss every once in a while. I try not to cuss a lot, but well, I cuss a lot in my day to day. So, all right, let's see here. Good. All right, let's get back to the code. So we're going to revisit the Docker file here in a little bit. Just doing a music check. Ooh, that's a good one. So we're going to come back to this Docker file. Eventually, we're going to start talking about the productionalization of this application, and especially if we start actually using some of these features that I'm thinking about in my head. Do you think about things anywhere else? Anybody? No? Just me? Actually, let me put these down here. Kind of leave that down there as a gut check. But we're going to come back to the Docker file, because when it comes to deployment and when it comes to the execution of this code, Docker file is usually where I come back to. And we're also going to optimize that Docker file, because as I mentioned, Docker images. Medjbot's currently sitting at 846 megabytes. That is just shy of 1 gigabyte of data that we would have to pass around just to deploy our application. And to put that into perspective, Medjbot, the binary, is only 6.9 megs. 6.9 megabytes. So what's the other just shy of 840 megabytes? It's called waste. That's what it is. But that is a task for another time. All right, let's see here. So I have my handy dandy checklist for things that we are doing. So we've got, just to kind of catch up on the things that we've done so far. We're connecting to Twitch IRC. We are joining rooms. We are responding to ping pong, because otherwise we get yeeted out of the chat. we're responding to commands, which at the moment we only have 2 commands, but hey, we have 2 commands. Let's see here. We want to source that, go run main.go. There to be. And then if I come over here, oh, that's the wrong chat to do that in. If I do sorcery, bam, you get a shout out to go and see one of the most wholesome Dark Souls streamers that is out there. So please give her a like, a follow, and check her out. Mitch doesn't cuss, he leaves that to me. Excuse me? Excuse me? No. No. We be cussing like sailors. Between the 2 of us, we will absolutely push this stream far beyond acceptable for children. Don't do it. Don't check out my stream. Yeah. It's fantastic. And of course, we also have the obligatory hello world. So we are responding to commands. We have message parsing. We have IRC parsing. We have all of these things working for us, which is fantastic. So now what else are we going to do? It's like, okay, we got a fairly decent base for this code. But there's a couple of things that bother me at the moment. For example, the pass command, like, that's quite a lot of code just to do, just to send a pass command. Not really a fan of this, personally. But then, I mean, sending a struct is okay, but then there's this, like, we're basically leaking the details, the underlying details of how we are actually constructing, passing, and parsing commands. And I don't really want that to be leaked everywhere in the code. Because what if later on I decided that, well, I actually need the params to be parsed out into a different structure? Well, everywhere in the code that I am currently passing the params as a slice of strings, I'm going to have to change that code to accommodate that. I don't really want to do that. I don't really want that to be a thing. So, what could we do here? What would I want this to be? I think this is pretty okay. I mean, this is pretty standard error processing inside of Go, so that's okay. Is there something that we could do that would make this easier? On the one hand, if I had like a client.pass and then I sent the token itself, that's not terrible. It's pretty explicit. So client.pass with the token would then, under the hood, could effectively take this code and it could execute that code for me, which is potentially could be a good thing. And then in theory, we could do the same thing for client.nick, which would be something. Oop. Here we go. And that would more or less replace all of this code with 2 lines of code. Will we call it send pass and send nick? We call it set pass, set nick. I don't really like the set moniker because set to me implies that you are just setting data onto the struct, which implies that it is not really a side effecting function. Send is a little more explicit that it's a side effect. It's sending data somewhere. So more than likely that's a side effect. Could potentially call it send pass and send nick. Let's see what that looks like. Let's go to the IRC. And we already have a function here called priv message, which is the abstraction over the idea of sending a private message to the channel. We do have this to do here for does this belong here? Maybe. But let's say that we've got a product owner or project manager breathing down our neck, says, get this done. Like, all right. Make it work, make it right, make it pretty. In that order, preferably. Sorcery stream, what? Yeah, dog. Go check out sorcery. Let's see here. So let's say we want to have an IRC. We want to have a method on IRC, and I want to call this pass. And for pass, we're going to send in token as a string. And this can potentially return an error. And then let's go back over to here. Let's yoink this code, plonk it here. And then we change this to irc.write, pass cmd. Actually, we don't want to do that here. We just want to do return irc.write. And yes, all we're really doing is moving this definition. We're moving the construction of this message and the execution of this write command. We're moving that from the main.go and we're moving it into IRC. But what we're also effectively doing is we are creating that abstraction on top of the concept of the IRC. And the IRC is it's by itself, it's a spec, it's a concept in and of itself. And creating these kind of helper functions is just hiding the implementation details for how we are actually sending messages to the IRC. So we do something like that. Okay, that's fairly okay. We'll come back to here. That means that we can delete that. We can delete that. We can plonk it here. Delete word. We want to bring you back up here. If error equals client.sendPass, error does not equal to nil, fatal, send pass failed, then print out our log line. Although we did do this, come down here, we called it pass, we didn't call it send pass. Yeah, let's call it send pass. Why not? I had a moment where I was second guessing whether or not I actually wanted to call it send pass. Again, what's one of the hardest things to do in software? Cache invalidation, definitely, and naming things. Oof. So let's see here, send pass, and then we're also going to have a send. Nope, not a send. We're going to have a send nick command. Let's come back to main.go. Delete that. Plonk that here. Yep. All right. We need to do a client.send nick. And then we definitely we need to authenticate with the IRC. So now we've got send pass and we've got send nick. So these are more or less, I like to call them business functions. They are business APIs. They're meant to solve the business problem of I need to send a pass and a nick to IRC. Okay, so that's it's kind of cleaned up our code a little bit. And so now our IRC has these helper functions, except that I deleted Nick and I didn't actually pass it over. So let's just go ahead and boop. So we need this to be Nick CMD equals the command is Nick, and the token, this is actually token, and then we want this to be Nick CMD. There we go. Send Nick sends the Nick command to the IRC, and send pass sends the pass command to the IRC. So at least our documentation on our code also implies that this is a side effecting function. It is a thing that does some type of network request, hence the use of the send keyword. And it is definitely a good idea to kind of standardize on those conventions when you're talking about the code inside of your own team. When you have a bunch of different people doing a bunch of different things, they're all doing the same thing, but they're doing it slightly differently. That gets very, very confusing very quickly. So let's see here. My nose is itchy. I don't know why. Bop, bop, bop. Okay, so now we've got relatively succinct authentication code. What else? What else do we have here? Client.read. We still have this ping pong. Yeah. We still have this ping pong. And we also have our command processing that's currently sitting in main.go, which is not great. Yes, and we also have a join command, which in more or less the same capacity. We have a send pass and we have a send nick. Well, why don't we have a join? So func IRC join channel string returns an error. Can plonk that code right there. Return irc.write join command. And we don't need irc.message. We actually just need message since it's in the same code file. And then join the given IRC channel. Must be called, I think this is still true, pass and nick. So now this becomes error equals client.join channel. Error is not equal to nil. Fatal. Join failed. And then our lovely to do no. All right. So let's do a quick check-in. Let's see here. Source our token, go run main.go. Okay. Still sending pass, still sending nick, still connecting. And if we give a shout out to sorcery, still working. All right. So that's a relatively good spot, I think, to do a quick git commit. Let's add, we do have some code for the Docker file, but I'll do a separate commit for that. G commit, and I want this to be, let's see here, add IRC functions for pass, nick, and join. WE. WQ. There we go. Oh my god, who's this sorcery blur getting so many shout outs? I don't know, Nilo. I think we need a slightly different shout out to Neelikin, who I believe is not currently streaming at the moment, but he does have a channel. You should give him a follow. Another wholesome streamer that I personally endorse because I love their content. I love Sorcery's content. I love Neelikin's content. It is a fantastic community over there. Go check them out. Let's see here. What else? What else? Okay. So now we've gotten to a point where most of our business logic for what we want this bot to do is currently sitting inside of our main.go. And for the small amount of functionality that we currently have, that's not terrible, in the sense that, oh, that is a little bit higher than I wanted it to be. There we go. It's not terrible, but at the same time, there's something that just, it feels a little low level at the moment. It feels like we're interacting using an API that is very specific to IRC, and we have abstracted the idea of IRC, in my opinion, relatively well. But the point was not really to create an IRC client. The point was to create a Twitch bot. So, his setup is so incredibly professional. It's the sixth wonder of the world. How he isn't affiliate yet is beyond me. Like, genuinely beyond me. Go give Nilo a follow. He deserves it. So, we kind of started down this path last stream. We kind of started down this idea of, what if we had more of a bot structure? What if we had a structure that was more or less set up to just focus on being a bot? And maybe the IRC portion of things is not quite as important. Maybe the idea of the bot is, we don't really want to interact with the IRC anymore. We just want to set up a bot. And maybe later we set that bot up to do something completely different in terms of connection, but maybe it responds to the same commands and it produces the same feature functionality. That's kind of the idea. We want to create an abstraction that is specific to the bot that we are trying to build. And so we kind of started down this path. We started with our bot struct, and we started to set up some of the messages or some of the functions that we wanted this bot to be able to achieve. And instead of priv message, I feel like priv message is, well, yeah, maybe just priv message or send message. Send message is more, it's going to send a priv message. But we don't really want to be cognizant that we are using IRC. We want to be cognizant of the functionality of the bot. So what does that look like? Well, starting with our authenticate function, authenticate is definitely the first step, because authentication is effectively the combination of the pass and the nick command. So if I were to come back to main.go, and probably first thing that I would do is I would grab these two bits right here, and then I would come back over here, and then I would plonk that down into there, and then, oh, I don't have a client. I don't have a client anymore. It's not token anymore, it's password, but one problem at a time. I don't have a client. Where do I get a client? Well, for starters, we could just say, well, this code has a dependency on IRC. So we could say client is an IRC. And we're probably going to have to import that. Let's come back to main.go. And this is currently returning a pointer to IRC, so we're probably going to need to keep that consistent. Let's go to bot.go, irc.irc. This will be a pointer to IRC. And then let's make a func called new. And we want... I don't think we want anything just yet. I'm going to return a bot. And this is going to be irc.newClient. And this is client equals return at bot. Client is client. There we go. So we got our constructor function. And now what we've effectively done is we have embedded a, well, not embedded, but we have wrapped IRC. So where IRC was wrapping the WebSocket connection, well, now we have a bot that is wrapping the IRC. So now, whenever we want to connect to this application, well, we have bot.client, and instead of token, it's now password. Okay. And same thing, we have bot.client.sendNick, and then we also need to bring in our log function. So now if I wanted to do what is effectively the exact same thing, I can go back into my main.go, and instead of initiating a client like this, instead I'm going to say bot equals bot.new. There we go. And then I'm going to say bot.authenticate, and it's nick and token. Okay. Now, this is still a problem, though, because we have a couple of things that we haven't done yet. Number one, we need to actually connect to IRC. And I think that it definitely makes sense to hide this. Maybe we do the same pattern. Maybe we have a func bot is, we want to connect. And this will be bot.client.connect. And then I'm not entirely sure that I want all these log.fatalfs here. Yeah. Although, let's see here. What I could do instead is change word. I'm going to change this to a printf. This is going to be an error. This is also going to be an error. So we're effectively going to change up the way that we're doing some of our logging. We're going to do something similar. However, now we're not doing the log.fatalf inside of authenticate. And same thing for here. Instead, we want this to be printf error bot connect. We'll probably want this to be somewhere else, just saying, but we'll get to that. And let's see here. So if I come back to main.go, we do also have a client.close. Should probably add that as well. So if error equals bot.authenticate, error does not equal to nil, log.fatalf, and in this case, we're effectively, text property info corrupted. It appears that I have borked my Vim. As I am wont to do for every once in a while. Log.fatalf. Fatal. Bot authentication failure. This will be %s error. So now we have more or less the exact same feature, except that now, instead of explicitly sending the pass and the nick command, now we're just calling a single bot.authenticate. So now we're basically moving the API up a level. Instead of discussing the features in terms of IRC commands, now we're discussing the features in terms of bot functionality. So again, we're just raising the abstraction layer so that we're not necessarily tied to having a bot that is assigned to IRC. Now, obviously, if we were to change away from IRC, yes, instead of changing this code, we would have to change the bot code. But in our business logic, in this side of things, we are effectively allowing ourselves to hide that implementation detail. And potentially we could move that somewhere else as well. We're also technically creating a little bit of a library, but not really our primary goal. So, okay, so now we don't need that. And I do still like the idea of having a cleanup function, which, do we have a cleanup function? We do not have a cleanup function. Okay. So immediately after, we want this to be close. Let's see here, we want bot.client.close. Close the connection to the client. Close the connection to Clint Eastwood. I keep finding myself, whenever I want to type client, I find myself typing Clint too much. I'm not entirely sure why. I feel like it's just me channeling my desire to write some code for Clint Eastwood. Maybe. All right, so let's go back to main.go. Now we've got, what do we have? Oh, right. I think we actually don't want this to be a pointer. I think we just want that to be like that. Yeah, because we're not really going to be changing anything. We're not really going to be changing anything on the bot. We're just going to be calling bot commands. And so, recall how I mentioned kind of that fine balance between comments versus self-documenting code? Authenticate with the IRC? Well, we don't really want to expose that we're using IRC here. We just want to say authenticate with the bot. But then the method is called bot.authenticate. That's pretty clear in terms of what exactly it is that we're doing, in my opinion. So we're going to let that self-document. And also we're going to move this up here. So we got our bot. We defer our bot.close. We say bot.connect, which our connect doesn't have an error. I call shenanigans. Return error. There we go. This absolutely could throw an error. At that point, we were just hiding the error. Let's see here. So in here, it would be if error equals bot.connect. Error does not equal to nil. Loop. Log.fatal fatal F, fatal bot connect. Defer bot.close. All right. Oh dear, this has thrown a window up above. If you've never seen the cover art for Bushido, it's fantastic. All right, let's yeet that down into the corner. Thank you very much. Let's see here. So we've got our bot.new, our bot.connect, and our defer bot.close. If error equal to bot.authenticate, error is not equal to nil, log.fatalf, bot authentication failure. Okay. Now we've got a thing. We've got a design decision. Number one, we still have this read, and we still have this command. We have this command processing that we've been doing. And right now, all of this is currently sitting inside of our code, which we also want to come back up here, bot.authenticate, and then we want this to be bot.join. Fatal bot join failed. So now we've got our new, our connect, our authenticate, and our join. We still have this read loop. Where do we put this read loop? One thought that I was having, I'm not entirely sure. I see the message, but I can't read the message. Darn it. Let's pull this over here. Here we go. Okay, I'm done. I'm done gaming. Medj, in simple Ooga Booga terms, what are you doing? So, in a nutshell, we are attempting to create a bot. Very similar to Streamlabs, and how in Streamlabs you can do things like you can give shout outs to fantastic streamers. You can send commands, you can monitor chat, you can do all kinds of things with Streamlabs. And the way that Streamlabs does that is that they effectively have a bot that is connected to the channel. It's connected to the chat, and it's watching for these commands. And so what we've done is we've done at least that first part, which is write some code to connect to chat, to connect to IRC is the tech underneath it, and start receiving messages just like the window here to the right of the video is doing. And then the bot starts to parse those messages, and if it sees something that looks like a command, i.e. the bang SO or bang Discord, which we do have, it will know to respond to that command. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that was Ooga Booga terminology for you. Which I do not believe that you require Ooga Booga terms, Neelican. You are quite an intelligent individual. So, but no. Definitely every once in a while I have to kind of check myself and go, now, how would I say that in English and not in dev? Different? Yes. Let's see here. I think we could still keep... Yeah, I think we could still keep most of this. I think what we would have to do Yeah, what I think we would have to do is we'd have to decide how we want to represent the read of chat. So you're recreating the commands of the Streamlabs bot, and I take it once you can recreate them, you're going to improve upon them? Maybe? There are some ideas that have been kind of boiling in my head. The first was, like, doing this was more just an exercise to see if we could do it, and to kind of get an idea as to maybe how Streamlabs is doing it. I don't necessarily know that we will improve upon it necessarily. I do know that me personally, I have intent to basically take this and make it a little bit cleaner, so that I can potentially use that as a chat widget, because unfortunately the chat widget that I have over here is not very reliable. Like the chat widget that's on my laptop keeps disconnecting me, and this chat widget I can't actually interact with unless you see the Streamlabs thing pop up, which is super professional. So I'm an online marketer. Try explaining why Facebook shows you ads for products you want to. Angry kid. Nilokin, have you ever had a strong distaste for Streamlabs and the way that it processes commands? Well, guess what? Today in MedgeLabs, in the lab, we, the lab assistants, have created a advanced form of the IRC bot that you have come to despise. And today, it has a fantastic feature such as being able to give Sorcery a shout out and saying hello world. If you would like to purchase this bot, I'm sorry, we don't take payments because of legal reasons. I actually had to stop and take a drink after that because I don't know what this voice is, but I'm going with it. Going to www.medgelabsbot.gov. Don't go to that site. I think the closest that you could get would be medgelabs.io, but that's just kind of a placeholder site for me right now, so. All right. Oh, I know what that voice was. That was kind of a raspier version of "In a world, one man, one Twitch stream, one terrible attempt at recreating Streamlabs in Golang." Oh, let's see here. There's two thoughts that are kind of rumbling around in my head right now as I'm just staring at this this Go routine. On the one hand, there's the topic of ping pong. It sounds like Pablo Francisco. I may have learned that voice from Pablo Francisco. Just saying. Medj become a voice actor? No. The number of voices that I can kind of do are like that big. The number of accents that I can do, 0. I am a Southern American, and I can't even do the Southern accent properly. I get weird looks from the people that I have lived with, that I've lived around for, say, decades now. They still look at me and they go, you know, you don't really sound like one of us. I have my little tinges here and there. You can hear, obviously, that I do have Southern tendencies, but they look at me strange. So if I can't even do my own accent, I dare not offend somebody by trying to do theirs. Says the guy that does a terrible Irish accent in D&D. Let's see here. I've just added a thing to my string where I drop all pretense and go full South Africa. Ooh. So you're saying that this is a redemption option? Just saying. All right, let's see here. The thought that was in my head for ping pong, I was kind of curious if it maybe made sense to just plop this into the bot. So the bot, when I connect the bot, the intention is that the bot is more or less going to connect to IRC, and it's going to start reading these messages. So the question is, how can I retain the chat functionality, but retain it on demand? Because right now what I'm doing is I'm effectively printing chat out as these log.printfs. And I'm doing that more for debugging, just to make sure that the bot does in fact connect. So just to kind of put some code to the thought. So we have our authenticate, we have our join, and then I'm thinking of something like bot, either read stream, which would return something. Still trying to figure out what, because I don't necessarily have stream APIs familiarized in Go. Although I could make this a channel. So what I could potentially do is I could have channel, we'll say chat stream, or we'll just call it stream. Stream is a channel of ole, Golang channels. Hi, 715. I'm talking channel. Did I say channels and your ears like started to burn? Oh Lord, he be talking about channels. He be going into one of them. Yes. So the thought here. So channels, channel buffering. Yeah, it's just a chan of string. Okay. But in this case, can't you do... Is it this? Is that the syntax? It's basically saying that this channel is only a outbound channel. You can't send a message to that channel. Is that how that works? Oh, man. Oh, man. Channel directions. Yeah. Hey. I know I remembered some syntax. I've been in Java way too bloody long. That makes me sad. So effectively, a channel in Go, you can think of it as kind of like a pipe that data can go through. And this is a communication mechanism, specifically for Go routines. I know, right? Java. You know what? I actually want to go backwards. I want to go back to channels. Channels, I like the official definition. Channels are the pipes that connect concurrent Go routines. You can send values into channels from one Go routine and receive those values into another Go routine. Has anybody ever seen, like in movies, they'll have like the two tin cans attached to a string, and like two neighbor kids are talking to each other. One has one end, one has the other. That's effectively what a channel is. Although, the nice thing about channels, from a type perspective, is that channels can have directions. So a channel direction, when you are basically passing a channel in as a parameter to a function, you can specify whether the channel is meant to send or receive messages. If you don't do so if I were to just do this is a bidirectional channel. This means that this channel can both send and receive messages. However, for our read stream function, it doesn't really make sense for you to be able to send messages through that channel. Yeah. So the client that's going to connect using this read stream, they shouldn't be able to put messages onto that channel. They really should only be reading messages from that channel. So actually, in this case, I think it would actually need to be that way, because our bot is going to send messages to that channel. It's not going to receive messages from that channel. On the other side, it's going to receive those messages. Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. So, Now the question is, how do I want to do this? On the one hand, I could initiate this. So effectively, the bot is going to connect. Oh, we need to return nil here, because we do not have an error in that case. More or less, the boss. Oh man, the Medj boss. Ladies and gentlemen, this is absolutely going to end up being the bot that actually runs the show. Just saying. So when the bot connects, it is effectively reading chat at that point. Except that we're not actually reading anything at this point. What we would effectively have to do is call the connect function and then immediately call the read stream function. And so, yeah, I think that makes sense. So what we could do here is we could say go func. And here we want to take a channel. And we only want this channel to be sent messages. Chan string. There we go. So this is stream. And then here we want to pass in stream. So more or less what I'm thinking here is that the client is going to have to call read stream. When they call read stream is going to read messages off of the client, and it's going to pipe those into the channel. There's another option for this, though. So this is the channel approach. I kind of want to go through this thought before I choose one and then end the stream. The other option, instead of dealing with the concurrency constructs, which is effectively kind of us extending the concurrency construct into our application, alternatively, we could take more of a functional approach, and we could say work is it func string? I think that's the syntax. So more or less, instead of passing a stream, so we would have to create a stream externally, we would pass that stream into this read stream function, and then we would, on the other end, we would be receiving messages off of that stream, and then we would be parsing them, we would be piping them into log.printf in this case. Or, in this approach, we are passing read stream a function, and it's a function that takes as an argument a string. And then what we could do with that is we could just go func. In fact, we could come back to main, and we could effectively copy that out, paste that into here. Message error equals bot.client.read. If error equals nil, log.println. This would be a 4. We would want to break that for at that point. Error, read, because we wouldn't have access to that error anymore. Let's see here. Message error equals bot.line.read. If error does not equal to nil, log.println break. Otherwise, at that point, we have the message, so we can then just call work with message.string. Why do you not use ePrintline? What is this ePrintline? What is this? What is this that you speak of, 715? I've actually not heard of ePrintline. I'll hold that for just a second. So effectively, this is kind of the same thing, except we've just moved this go routine into readstream func, and so it's kind of sort of doing the same thing, except that it's we've kind of packaged this functionality into bot, and now bot is in charge of how we actually read from this code, and all we're giving it is a function that we say, hey, if you receive a log line, I want you to call this function with it. The error printing or standard error? That's a fair point, actually. Let's see here. I think I can mostly chalk that up to me not being fully familiar. Yeah, I'm not that familiar with it because I remember what is it? I think it's FMT has error F, and FMT. Yeah, that to me makes sense. I've just used the log. Oh, that's what it was. I use log instead of FMT because FMT I think does default to standard out and standard error depending on the function that you call. Log, however, has the interface of what is it? Let me go back to main.go. Log.set output, and you can basically pipe that output to an IO writer. So, for example, you could pipe that out to standard out. You could pipe it out to standard error. You could pipe it out to the network. As long as your interface is an IO writer, you could pipe that log out into a logstash instance or a Graylog or something of that nature, syslog, as long as you set that output to an IO writer. And I remember doing that for, I want to say it was Logstash. I want to say it was a Logstash encoder that I used that for. So since then, I've just kind of instinctually used log instead of FMT. That's really the only reason. Let's see here. So down here, we could call read stream func stream, and all that we would really do, is plonk that into here, change that to, this should be message, and this just becomes message. Undeclared name, hello. Bot.readstreamfunc. There we go. So now this is the approach of, I don't care how you do it. I just care that you do it. It's that more functional approach of, I'm going to give you the thing to do. You figure out how to actually do it. Which in this case is, I don't care how you read lines of strings from the IRC or from the client. I just care that when you do read a line, call this function, which in this case is our original printf function. So in theory, that gets rid of that. Oh, right, because I have the extra thing here. Okay. But now we also have ping pong. And for ping pong, we kind of sort of need to honor that. Because if we don't honor ping pong, again, we get yeeted. But let's do a quick check. Just going to comment all of that out. So bot.authenticate, bot.join, bot.readfunc, and then we're just going to sleep forever. Here. Let me make sure bot is all good. I'm actually gonna comment this code out. We'll compare and contrast the read stream versus read stream func here in just a second. But let's go to a terminal. Source, go run, main.go. Oh, import and not use medjrc, import and not use strings. No, module requires 1.5. Oh, we may have to fix that. Yeah, we may have to fix that. That's cheating, I know. Fix the problem? Why? Why would we fix the problem? And I think we also need to go into our go.mod, and I think we need to change that back to 1.14, which I think is what I have locally. Let's see here. Source, just in case, because I don't trust it. Go run main.go. Maybe. Oh, no. It looks like we broke it. Whoops. Okay. So how did we break it? Question of the year, isn't it? Oh. No, we did a bot.connect, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Bot.new, bot.connect, bot.authenticate. I didn't see a log message about bot.join. Where do we call readfunc? We are calling that in main. Also, welcome Fuel. Welcome back to the lab. And of course, it didn't happen because I am not. I'm not actually doing anything in join. Algol? Is that Algol? Yeah, Algol. Thank you so much for the follow, mate. Welcome to the lab. We are, just in case if you haven't caught any of the shenaniganery before, we are attempting to build a Twitch bot in Go. We are currently connected to the IRC client, and now we are attempting to write a bot interface, a bot API. And I just tried to join a channel without actually having a channel to join, because I didn't actually write any of this code. Whoops. All right, so if error equals bot.client.join channel, error does not equal to nil. Technically, I don't think that we really need to... Yeah, we don't really need to do all that. We just need to do this. I'm sitting here doing the same thing over and over and over again without actually questioning why am I doing that thing. Sometimes you just get into a rhythm. When are you going to write a macro for the if error? I think I do have a macro. Hang on. I do. Kind of. It's not a very good macro. I completely forgot that I had done that. Thank you for reminding me, 715. Oh, Vim. How I love thee. All right, so bot.join, error equals bot.client.join, return error. This will more or less be the same thing. So we go back to our bot. That is still fail. That is good. And here's where we were calling bot.readStreamFunc, by the way, Fuel. Which I don't know if you were here to catch this or not, but we are effectively taking the IRC code and we are abstracting it into a bot struct, just so that we can have a little bit more of a concise API, if you will. All right, let's give this a go. I think I was trying to say give this a whirl, but then I decided to say go, so I said grow. That looks promising. Hey, nope. Wait, did you write the join function? I did. I just did. Didn't even see it. So fast. It's the fastest go that you've ever seen. Okay, so we are back to receiving our output, which is fantastic. So we've got to that point. Let me exit out of that. Let's get a quick commit here. Let's get our bot.go and our main.go. And gcommit. And we're going to say move chat read into bot. Although we are very much cheating at the moment, as 715 has pointed out, because we basically just uncommented everything. Because now if we uncomment this and we try to save, oh, look at all those errors. Oh, wow, I need that git thingy. That is the Vim Fugitive plugin. I think it's tpope Vim Fugitive. There we go. It is a phenomenal plugin. And I mean, to kind of go in the same vein of do things in Vim, make things as fast in Vim as humanly possible, that's a good one. Praise be to Tim Pope. All hail. All hail. Don't know what that is. Let's see here. I also had yeah, I had thingamadoos for that. I just use Git GUI. Hey man, Git GUI is perfectly fine. Marvel! How's it going, mate? Welcome back to the lab. Thank you so much for stopping by. We're breaking shit. Okay. Ping pong. I did mention at some point that ping pong definitely needs to be a hidden thing. It needs to be something that the bot just takes care of. And for the time being, I'm just going to plop it into here. How did you break stuff by deleting comments? So the long story short is that we've moved the IRC client into the bot. Oops. And so now, let me save this real quick so I don't lose it. And so now up here, instead of instantiating a new IRC client, we're now instantiating a new bot. So we're effectively moving over functionality into a new bot API. So we have bot.new, bot.connect, and bot.close. Similar. We have an authenticate function, which the authenticate function is more or less just an abstraction over sending the pass and the nick commands. We still have our join channel command. And then obviously we just added the read stream func, which is recreating our log stream for chat. And now, because we've basically gotten rid of the IRC client, we don't have all of the message reads that we used to. So we're slowly but surely moving this functionality into the bot. So what we could do is we could leverage that existing code, possibly. We could leverage that existing code such that for ping pong, we do need the raw message in order to do what we've been doing, or we could revert back, though I think having the message... I think having the message is probably... Yeah. I think I'm going to change this. I'm going to change this to read stream. Actually, I think I'll call this... I'll keep this as read stream funk, but I think we might need... We might need a variant of this. Maybe I'm too tired, but I still don't see the number of... sorry about that. I kind of went backwards. So all of these errors came about. So this is the original Go routine where we were reading chat. We were parsing those lines into the message object, and then we were doing all of these processes such as ping pong, priv message handling, and all that. But because we don't have the IRC client anymore, and because we're not reading chat here, like the read chat, we've now moved into this one function. So now we don't have access to that message struct anymore. So that's why we're basically taking kind of slow roll moving this code into the bot, because now the bot is responsible for IRC instead of this being excuse me, instead of this code being responsible for the chat read. I would read it first and then send it to the user. That's fair. What was kind of in my head, let me bring this. Yeah, what was in my head was we have right now bot.client.read. What we could establish is an internal Go routine. It kind of sits on the bot struct, and we could register something that handles messages. So we could basically set up something akin to a pub sub. So we would read a line from the stream, and then we could broadcast that out to basically anybody that is listening to that channel. That is one possibility. Yes, and so right now we're basically failing because of this. Now, I mean, a shortcut, mind you, a shortcut to this is that we could absolutely just do this. We could just take this code, come down to here, and then we could move. Yes, we could move this down. Oh, I don't know what I did. Nah. There we go. Yes, we can move this down to here. And then we wouldn't need to return nil. Ping pong would no longer return an error. We wouldn't have that. Oh, nope. Oh, nope, so that's not right. Oh, nope, it's one more. Yep, it's one more. Yeah. The indentation went wide on me. bot.client.write pong. This is one way of doing it. What we've effectively done is we have duplicated the logic for reading from the chat stream, which is obviously not great. So that looks weird. I know, it really does. So what we've effectively done is we now have this ping pong function, which ping pong listens for ping heartbeats, or we could just say ping pong responds to ping heartbeats from the server so we don't get disconnected. However, ping pong is not going to be an exported method. Ping pong is definitely going to be an unexported method, because more or less we don't really want our clients to know about ping pong. Ping pong will just magically happen in the background, more or less. So this is our go routine that has a for loop that constantly reads from chat and during that time. However, there's kind of a problem here. I'm fairly confident that there is a problem here. I'm fairly confident that these two functions are going to step on each other. Yeah, I'm fairly confident that I'm not getting a double message there. Officer Wolf! Oh, you're late, but that's okay. Welcome, mate. Welcome back to the lab. Thank you so much for joining us. And 715, you are absolutely correct. I would not be getting that message twice. So, I think I am going to have to go with my more complete solution. Helping your mom with her resume and cover letter. I mean, that's a pretty legitimate reason for being late. Just saying. It's like, help your mother with her resume and her cover letter, or listen to me ramble on about code. I'm gonna go with the helping the mom is definitely the better option. Alrighty, let's see here. Officer Wolf, just to kind of catch you up real quick. We are basically moving a lot of the existing functionality into this bot structure. Don't want to go too far back, but effectively we're creating a new API to interact with this bot. So that's what we're kind of working with right now. So 715, you are correct. This will not read twice. So what I think I need, I think I do need that that internal stream. And I don't know that I'm going to have time to do that. Yeah, I don't think I have time to do that tonight, unfortunately. I've heard of an API, but never understood what it really does. Gotcha, no worries. API, application programming interface, sure. More or less, it's an interface. And so an interface is effectively just hiding the implementation details of how certain things happen. And to give an example, since I'm not going to finish this code tonight, I might as well, I can go back into the execution. So in main.go, we previously had this code where we were sending the pass command and where we were sending the nick command. So constructing this message of pass and the params as a string of token, and then we return an irc.write. So we're actually sending that command off to the IRC. Same thing for nick. And effectively we were doing that because that is the process of authenticating with IRC. But instead of having that kind of low-level detail contained inside of our main.go, what I'm really going for is to create an API that is simpler and is more focused on the bot functionality that we're wanting to implement here. So in this case, instead of having both of those commands, I instead have this bot.authenticate method, which takes the nickname and the password that we want to use, and then under the hood, it runs those commands for us. So this authenticate function, you can consider it like an API to the authentication process for the IRC. More broadly, bot is effectively an API to interact with the Twitch chat. And in our particular case, that Twitch chat is implemented through an IRC client. So we're effectively hiding now from our main.go. We're hiding, or at least we're attempting to hide, the fact that we are using IRC to connect to chat, to run all these commands, print chat out to console, etc., etc. That is more or less the TLDR. Hopefully that helps. Seems like an eye of understanding. It's like that API is definitely one of those terms that is thrown all over the place. And I feel like we rarely actually define what that term means. So, yeah, that helps a lot. Fantastic. Excellent. All right. Because we moved ping pong into the bot, we can move that down. And now we still have our command processing, which command processing is still broken. And command processing is broken because effectively we don't really have a good implementation. I don't really want to leave it here, but at the same time, I don't really think that I have the time to do this. Yeah, I don't think I have time to do this tonight, unfortunately. So, view it as a cliffhanger for next stream. Exactly, Fuel. So, number one, to do. Can't read from client twice. Need a stream? Next time on Medgelabs. Medgelab Z? Yeah, Medgelab Z. Next time on Medgelab Z, it's Medj just sitting here writing code and screaming for 3.5 hours. To do Medgelab Z. Let's see here. To do maybe a channel of chat lines? Question mark. How I would do it, just read all the incoming chat and then process if needed, like pings, then have a channel you send the other messages to. Absolutely. So kind of the initial thought in my head was that there would be more or less a channel, whether it's a buffered channel or an unbuffered channel, TBD at this point, but something where there's a Go routine that is reading these chat lines, and it's plopping those chat lines onto this channel. And then I can effectively have a set of registered receivers, of consumers of that chat line. And the job of bot will effectively be to take those messages and distribute them to each consumer. So exactly more or less what you pointed out. Do channels work as a buffer in Go? If you buffer them. So there are buffered channels. Then there's also kind of just the unbuffered, call it the unbounded channel, I suppose. That does basically require that the channel has a consumer. Otherwise, if you just drop messages onto a channel, but onto a buffered channel, eventually it'll fill up and then it'll block. So the producer will be blocked. Or if you do it as an unbuffered channel, you're basically just building, and then eventually you run into a seg fault because memory. So what I was originally thinking was have that channel, and then one of the first consumers that will be instantiated as part of the bot is the ping pong receiver. So instead of a GoFunk with a 4, this would instead be a GoFunk with a select on the channel. And then basically it'll just be a Go routine that sits in the background and receives those messages. Although instead of GoFunked, I would probably just up here maybe I would do something like Go ping pong. There we go. Message channel. So I would do something like that. And then down here, we would have effectively just a select clause. You know, I kind of want to throw this out here. Okay, let's see here. So stream is a channel of message of irc.message. And then instead of this being a Go routine, and instead of this being a 4, this would more or less be a select. Crap, I can't remember Chan. Chan. Beep. Where's my select? There's my select. Select case message from your channel, then do something with that channel. So it's a case message from stream. We wouldn't have that. We would just have that, more or less. Oh, we're missing something here. Oh, we wouldn't have that anymore. Not sure how select works? Going to the Go by example. Go select lets you wait on multiple channel operations. So it's effectively kind of like a read off of a channel. So you can read off of a channel. Let me go back one, I think. Yeah, there we go. So you can read off of a channel one time, or similar to a for loop, select is kind of like a for loop with blocking capabilities. So if you are reading a message from a channel, if there are messages available, it'll read a message off the channel, process it, repeat. Read a message off the channel, process, repeat, just like a for loop. However, if there are no messages on the channel, it blocks, and it'll just sit there. It's a very powerful feature. And on top of that, on top of being like, you can use it just for reading off of the channel, and it's more or less the same thing when you do a for reading off of the channel. The for reading off of the channel is kind of the basic implementation, but as they're describing here, you can also have reads off of multiple channels. So if you had multiple Go routines operating off of multiple channels, you could effectively have kind of like a fan-in implementation. But won't you have a double read again? Not necessarily, because the intention is that ping pong is only a consumer of the message after it's been read off of the client. So the intention here would be somewhere up here. We would need to register that Go routine. So there would be a Go routine, would be something like Go read chat. And then in read chat, we would probably pass message chan. Because at that point, message chan would be the channel that we are passing messages to. So read chat would be the producer in this case, and then ping pong would be a consumer. So read chat would be the code that we had down here. And if I were to put this down here, func bot to bot, read chat, and then what do I want to call this? Stream is a channel of irc.message. And in this case, we don't want to read from it. We only want to send to it. So down here, whoops, double 4. Here we would want to read that message. If our error occurs, we pop out our error. Otherwise, stream message. Looks something like this. Read chat reads from the client and passes the parsed messages to the stream channel. In a nutshell. And it'll do this effectively forever. Or at least until it stops receiving messages from that. Excuse me. So this is the producer. This is the consumer. So now, effectively, what we need is a make chan of irc.message. We instantiate the read chat. We instantiate the ping pong as soon as we connect. And now, if we had this, I mean, I'm basically writing the code at this point. You have tricked me into implementing it instead of calling the stream early. And I am not displeased in any capacity. So now the read stream func would actually take the channel and we could effectively do a broadcast. We could probably register. We'd still have to, in order to prevent the double read that I think you're still hinting at, we would effectively have to do a broadcast to each channel. And I don't remember how to do that, so actually I will have to look into this at some point. But yes, to avoid the double read, we would have to do what is effectively a broadcast to all consumers. What that looks like, I don't recall. There's timeout, non-blocking channel operations, ranging over channels, which is basically the same thing if I remember correctly. Timers, tickers. Yeah, I'm gonna have to come back. I think I'm gonna have to come back to this. So we got our jobs, we got our results, we got some workers. In order to use our pool of workers, we need to send them work. Yeah, this is a little bit different. Yeah, so we'll come back to this, I think, in the next stream, because that is probably the extent of what my brain can handle for tonight, I think. So we are going to real quick here. I'm just going to do a quick commit to get this code saved. So we're going to save the bot, gcommit, and this is a moving, still in the process of, but move ping pong logic into bot. And we'll probably have to amend that commit the next time that we come to stream, because unfortunately that is this is basically code that is in a broken state. I will still push the code up to GitHub, but I usually wouldn't do that. Oh, okay. Git status, git push. just to make sure. Perfect. I usually wouldn't push broken code up to GitHub. Usually I would wait until I have that code properly working, and then I would basically do a git commit -- amend. So that's effectively like I've created a point in time in my version control, but then I come back and I'm like, oh crap, there's a bug in that code, so I actually need to fix that code real quick. So I would do a git commit -- amend, and that's probably what we're going to end up doing next time, but I just wanted to push that code up so that it was available to everybody. Woof. That was a long stream. That was a lot of fun, not going to lie. And again, thank you everybody for stopping by. Thank you so much for the support. Next time, can you still amend after pushing? Technically, but you have to force the push. So you do git commit -- amend, and then you have to do a git push -f, which is not a good thing to do if you are working off of a main branch like main. Definitely, if you're working off of your own branch, that's okay sometimes. But thank you for the stream. Thank you for coming to the stream, Horror. Very much appreciated, and happy to have you all here. Thank you so much for coming out, everybody. So, next time on MedgeLab Z, we will attempt to push that code into the bot, and we will attempt to get command processing back up and running, and then we will start adding some more of these fun little features that we have planned. So, until next time, thank you, everybody. Make sure to love each other, because I'm going to steal that from Critical Role, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care, everybody.